Sorry for party rocking.
The big news of the day, Blanchard Racing Team. James Golding on the pole, Aaron Cameron in a front row lockout. And nobody, Duck Tander, predicted a BRT lockout on that front row.
Sorry for party rocking.
And James Golding, incredible, unreal.
In third place for car number 7, James Golding. In second place in car number 3 for Liquimoli Blast Racing, here's Aaron Cameron.
Sorry for party rocking.
Well, the Sydney 500 is done and dusted. It's in the history books, and the one team which, let's face it, I think absolutely stunned the entire field was Blanchard Racing Team. And not only was it one of their drivers starred, but both of them did. And joining me now is team owner of Cool Drive Racing, Tim Blanchard. Tim, welcome back to the driver's seat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, first off, congratulations. Big weekend for the team, but what was the feeling like when you got back to the workshop after SMP?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting getting back to the workshop this week. Bit of a relief. We had a pretty big off season, did a lot of work, a lot of changes. So we went into the weekend a bit unconfident, but also a bit unsure how it was all going to go. So to come home with a couple trophies, both cars in the top 10 for all 3 races, plus win the Super 2 weekend as well. Yeah, I think they've got debrief on at the moment as we speak, and some of the staff here that are based at the office have brought in cakes and stuff like that to celebrate. So it's a very, very happy debrief this week.
I can imagine. And I reckon one of the stories of the silly season last year was, of course, James Golding making the move to BRT from Premier. Now, clearly that move has paid off with immediate returns. How did that deal come about? Because there was such a big question mark over what was 2026 going to look like, not just for your team, but for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of started the conversation, mid last year, and and our results up to that day weren't great, and we had a few glimpses of potential at Perth, Darwin, Townsville. But yeah, to be honest, it took a bit of convincing, and we had to show him our business plan and what we were trying to do with the team and where we were investing and where some of the things that we had going on behind the scenes to prepare for this year. And once he kind of spent an hour or two really understanding what we're trying to build with this team, he was pretty easy to convince. But yeah, the first reaction, he probably wasn't too keen on it. Once he kind of saw the plan in place and saw some of the early signs of the plan coming together through the middle part of last year with Jace again the podium at Perth, and then following up with the top 5 at Darwin and some competitive speed at Townsville, we kind of started to see, okay, this has potential. And to go and get a pole in his first ever qualifying session with us was a good start. And I said to him, we'll be aiming for this every session, but I can't promise every session is going to be like this for you, so enjoy it.
Well, he quite literally drove the wheels off that Mustang, but you guys do seem to have got a really good mix with him and both Aaron Cameron as teammates. And like Camo is just an absolute superstar, one of the big feel-good stories of last year's season. But how important was it for you to have 2 guys that really gel together well? Because last year, Camo and JC seemed to have that nice little mentor-mentee mix, but right now these guys, they complement each other so well. I know it's only been one round, but you must be pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this time last year, Aaron didn't even have a full-time drive, and he got a tap on the shoulder for this weekend last year. He was at a go-kart track the weekend before the Grand Prix, just working, and then got a phone call to pack your bag. You're racing this weekend at the Grand Prix. So a year later, qualifying on the front row and leading the race the way he did was fantastic. And the development in 12 months from him has been unbelievable. In terms of relationship, yeah, it was, James Courtney and Aaron had a relationship from Aaron's karting days, so it was really good for his first year to have that kind of mentorship and someone there to help guide him through the first year. But now we're kind of going into the second year. He's got that experience. It's got 2 young guys in Jimmy and Aaron now that are pretty hungry. They've worked together, both come through the Gary Rogers apprenticeship. They were teammates there, and we know they'll work pretty well together. But we also just want 2 young guys that are get on well out of the car, but are desperate to beat each other in the car. And I feel like we've got a good combination at the moment because they're desperately trying to beat each other, but they're working together to move the team forward.
And both of them have had quite a lot of success outside of supercars with S5000, TCR, all that sort of stuff. And I'm glad you mentioned JC there, because how important do you reckon those couple of years with JC and the team had that just helped you move forward? Obviously, it peaked with that podium, that maiden breakthrough podium at Perth. But do you think you'd be where you would be without that help of JC just nurturing that next crop of talent?
No, I think I've been friends with James a long time, and he the transition going from one car to two cars was significant. We went from five staff to 16, and the funding required increases dramatically, and so it's a huge change for the team, and it's took us 18 months to 2 years to really find our feet, and it was, I tell everyone it's kind of like a startup business, a new business, and there's a lot of pain. The first year or two are incredibly tough, and we went through that. And so having someone of James's profile and experience to just support us and guide us through that period was critical, and that's why we put him on board. And you probably would have seen the telecast, on Friday night. He was quite emotional after the race, and it was like he was still in the team. He was running around hugging everyone and in tears, like he can be from time to time. But and I was, made a point of thanking him for the efforts, even though he wasn't directly in the team on the weekend. The work he's done over the last 2 years to help build the team was a critical component of the success we had on the weekend.
I actually had a chat. I had the chance to chat to him just before the season started at the Team 18 launch, and he actually said like it was weird for him because he was actually pleased when his teammate had good results. Like it was the first time that's ever happened in his career. So, but going back to this year, and I know a lot of people have brought up this data alliance that you've got with Triple Eight, but you don't really have to look too far back into 2025 to actually see that you guys were sort of on the build. I mean, just look at Adelaide, where we had come up the front leading, and you've always had the speed. So really going into SMP, it kind of was a goal. Like, we can be front runners here. Like, I know that you probably weren't expecting to walk away with silverware, but surely, like, this was like at least a top five, or something like that.
Yeah, we had, we've invested a fair bit in bringing a few new people into the team. So we had Dennis join last year, as middle of last year, as our crew chief. His first kind of proper weekend was Perth when we snagged the podium. But in the middle of the year, you're putting out fires and there's so much you can do. And we were kind of improving throughout the year. After that, the end of Adelaide, we were able to strip the cars right down and build them the way we want. Dennis and the team wanted to do it, and the team really got behind him. And we had Tony Woodward join us from Brad Jones Racing, as well as a very experienced and race winning engineer, as well as Jimmy as well. So we've definitely added some skill set into the team and to move it forward. But as you said, like end of last year, we had both cars in the shootouts at Gold Coast and Adelaide. Camo started the last race in Adelaide. I think we struggled a little bit in the dry at Bathurst, but in the wet conditions, both cars were right in the hunt there. So towards the last 3, 4 events of last year, I think the signs were there. It was coming together. But I knew even just seeing the way the car prep of the way the cars went into the truck for Sydney, it was a significant improvement on where we'd been in the past. So I think everyone had this good feeling that we'd done the work going into Sydney, and it was good that work was acknowledged and recognised with the speed of the car.
And as we mentioned at the start, too, it wasn't just in the main game that you guys had a really great weekend. Successful in Super 2 as well. Lockie Dalton not only scored the pole, but a race win as well. Bailey Sweeney had 2 top 10 finishes too. So you added Lockie to the mix this year, pushed out the 2 cars, and it kind of does seem like, you've got a real eye to the future with BRT because, you've already got your interior lineup settled, but you must have some pretty high hopes for both Lockie and Bailey.
Yeah, absolutely. We got, I think this year we got a really good endurance program. We got Richie Stanaway, who's, a Bathurst winner, joining Jimmy, and then we got Zach Best, who, started at Bathurst last year, joining Camo again. So I think we got a good driver line up there. But yeah, the Super 2 program's expanding too, and Lockie finished second in the championship, most poles, quite a few race wins last year. We know our Super 2 program car's pretty strong. we had a few little issues with Bailey, and as a team, we probably didn't give Bailey the best chance on the weekend. And I think 2/8 for him was probably not reflective of his performance. So there's a bit of work we need to do there as a team, but because I think he should have been up there in the top 4 or 5 as well on the way he drove the car. So bit to improve, but yeah, it was a great weekend, and yeah, we're definitely trying to build a bit of a program in our Super 2 team and our main game team where we've got some. Yeah, I think you look at what Groves have done with Matt Payne and Kai Allen. You need the young, hungry guys that are just, yeah, the talent coming through the last few years has been really strong. So it's kind of been and even Erebus have done it with Brody and Will a few years
Yeah.
ago. That's kind of the recipe. We use James Courtney to help build the team, but the recipe for moving forward is, we want the young, hungry guys.
And it probably doesn't help too with the Super 2 when you get to the track and find out, oh, hang on, we're doing a completely different layout to what we thought we were going to do. So
Yeah,
that,
well, it wasn't even after we got to the track. It was literally like half an hour before the session started that the layout would change when we were sitting on the grid about to go out. So, but I think that's credit to Lockie and Bailey and the team that they were able to adapt. I felt like we had a pretty good program. We had a really good test leading into Sydney and done a lot of homework and done the work leading into the event, and then basically to rip that all up an hour before qualifying and have a completely new curveball, but still qualify on pole. That was the pleasing part from that side.
absolutely. Before I let you go, Tim, a couple of things I want to ask you. You talk about, having two young guys like Bailey and Lockie, just hunger to make that next step. But your enduro lineup, Zach Best and Richie Stanaway, like we know how good Richie is, and I feel like he's always sort of been bubbling at that service where it's like he just needs the right atmosphere around him. And we saw at Triple Eight, we saw when he was at Tickford as a co-driver how he can just flourish. But Zach Best is another one that I think is really, really. I was so pleased to see you guys give him another shot because last year him and Camo really sort of lit it up. I mean, to have a top 10 finish at Bathurst is pretty good. He's just so hungry, and it must be good to sort of have a bloke that gets in the car with that much passion to just do well and just have success.
Yeah, I think both of them are very underrated drivers, and they both deserve a full-time seat in the series, and through different reasons aren't there full-time. But the benefit for us, we've got two guys that are, to be blunt about it, pissed off they haven't got a full-time drive, and so they're pretty hungry to deliver it when we get to the enduros. And I know both of them have been in the workshop regularly already, and it's only February. They're just so pumped for Bathurst, especially after the weekend. Like Bathurst can't come quick enough for those two guys. And I know when we get there, if we can make sure we've still got a quick car, those two are going to be right up the pointy end in the co-drivers.
Absolutely. Now, last one before I let you go. AGP coming up. Obviously, do better than last year is a big tick for that one there. But after that flying start at Eastern Creek, do you have to kind of temper expectations just to make sure that the lads don't get ahead of themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. We had our team briefing this morning, and that's something that we discussed at length. Is what's the saying? What one hot day doesn't make a summer. So
Yeah,
we had a great weekend. We celebrate and pat each other on the back for the efforts and the results on the weekend. But now it's back to work, and the intensity and the focus that we had going into Sydney needs to maintain, because it's incredibly hard to have a fast car, but it's also very easy for it to slip away. So can't get complacent, and we've discussed that a lot today. And hopefully we can go into the Grand Prix and maintain the momentum that we're going to come home from Sydney with.
absolutely. Well, we're definitely. I reckon a lot of people in 2026 will be having the Cool Drive Racing Mustang and the Liquid Moly Blast Racing cars. Definitely a bit further up the grid than we're used to seeing them in past couple of seasons. But Tim, you've been incredibly generous with your time, mate. Thank you so much for having a chat with us. All the best at the AGP, and hopefully I'll catch you trackside.
Sounds good. Thank you.